So Square-Enix released a new demo for Octopath Traveler last week, and you guys know what that means. I was all over it. I've been extremely excited for this game for a long time, and a lot of you have been asking me to share my thoughts, so I figured now's a good time to do that. This is probably going to be a bit brief considering I've already made a video talking more in depth about certain aspects of the game when I played the first demo, so if you want to see that video, I'll provide a link to that in the description. So this new demo allows you to play as any of the 8 main characters, but only gives you a total of 3 hours to play, and that surprised me a bit when I first launched the game, but it made more sense when I saw exactly how everything works, and especially when I found out you'll be able to continue your save file from this demo in the full version of the game when it's released. One of the things I was most interested in finding out was how the player was going to be able to see each of the characters' origins as part of the whole story. In the original demo, once you finished the opening chapter of either Olberic or Primrose, you could go and recruit the other character and run around on the map and explore and fight and so forth, but their stories didn't really flow together. You had to start a new game and pick the other character to see their story. So that created some questions for me when I saw an interview with the dev team saying that you'd be able to see all 8 of the character stories on a single playthrough. Since I've already seen Primrose and Olberic in the original demo, I started as Cyrus this time, then made my way north to recruit Ophelia and then eventually Hanit before running into the 3-hour time limit. Basically how it works is once you've finished the opening chapter with the character you pick at the start, you can go to the town or village of any of the other characters and they'll sort of just be standing there waiting for you. And when you approach them and talk to them, the game will prompt you with a question about whether or not you want to hear their backstory and whether or not you want to recruit them. And essentially you get to play through the entire opening scenario for that character in exactly the same way as you would have had you chosen them at the start. With the exception, of course, that once it's time to go into the first dungeon and fight that character's first boss, you'll be able to go with the other characters you have in your party rather than having to do it solo. So yes, you can see every character's full story on one playthrough, and that's really nice. However, I do wish they had made an attempt to create a more believable, well-written, and comprehensive dialogue between the characters when they first meet. You know, something that would plausibly lead to their decision to team up in an authentic way, but that's not the case, unfortunately. Basically, when I entered Ophelia's village with Cyrus, she was just standing there in the open. I went and talked to her. The game asked if I wanted to recruit her and see her story. There wasn't a scene there where the characters met and interacted with each other and found a common goal, decided to travel together. There was nothing like that, and I found that to be pretty disappointing, honestly. Especially when it was the same way for Hanit as well. It felt like there was this kind of big hole missing in what was otherwise fairly high-level presentation story-wise. I was pretty surprised by that. The story itself is serviceable so far, I guess. From what I've seen at this early stage, there isn't an overarching plot that's been introduced yet. Rather, we're just getting to see the individual plights of each character, and I feel like they're kind of hit or miss. I think Cyrus and Olberic's stories are just okay, with Cyrus's in particular lacking any real sense of urgency or importance. Ophelia and Hanit's stories are a little better. They actually instilled some sense of empathy in me for their situations, but Primrose's is excellent. It's really, really good. I probably could have started another file and tried the other 3 characters as well, but at this point, I'm just going to hold off for the full release of the game because I'll be able to continue my save file from where I left off and just recruit them then. In any case, the presentation of the story for the most part is high quality work. The writing in general is pretty good, the pacing is fine, the voice work isn't bad, but nothing aside from Primrose's scenario has really grabbed me, and I really expected a lot more with the character interaction when they first meet and you're recruiting new characters. One thing I wanted to mention is that, of course, the game still looks beautiful. I'm a huge fan of the sprite work and in a general sense the way that everything's blended together. That being said, a while back the developers released a video update detailing how you could customize the graphic effects, but either they aren't all here in this demo, or there just aren't as many options as I was expecting. Basically what they've given you in this demo is the ability to tone down the vignette, which they're referring to as, I think what they called it, corner shadows. And then they're also giving you some control over the screen brightness. I was thinking maybe there was going to be a bloom effect you could turn on and off, as well as the ability to take away this lens blur effect, which I find to be a bit distracting. I wish I could just remove that altogether. Hopefully there will be a few more options like that in the final game, but even if there aren't, there's really no denying how great this game looks overall. It's extremely charming. The music is definitely my favorite aspect of the game so far. It has some wonderful melodies that are beautifully arranged and just excellently mixed. It's always great when you find a game that makes you stop after a battle ends because you just can't help but appreciate the victory fanfare. The boss battle music is outstanding, all of the town themes are great so far. It's shaping up to be really great on the music side of things, and I have no complaints there whatsoever. As for the battle system, I covered how it works in that other video I mentioned earlier, so I'll just say here for the sake of brevity that while it has some elements that I feel are a bit familiar to Bravely Default, I don't feel it's as deep as that game was. In fact, on the whole, I felt like the combat was significantly easier in this version of the game over the first demo, which I suppose is to be expected. Once devs have a chance to play test the game, they generally play it on the safe side with difficulty, but while I came away from the first demo feeling really excited about the combat, with this demo, I felt like I wanted them to add another layer to it. Just something to add another element of strategy, because I felt like I had it all figured out within like half an hour, and the bosses weren't tough for me this time, even though I was rushing through at lower levels because I knew I only had 3 hours to play the game. Luckily, save spots don't heal you, which a lot of other RPGs do, so there's at least some element of item management as you try to keep up your HP and MP as you go through a dungeon. But these dungeons are really short for the opening scenarios, so I'm hoping they'll get longer and tougher down the line. I don't know, while I tend to like more straightforward battle systems, this one currently is feeling a little too easy for my taste, and I hope the challenge ramps up a bit as the player moves out of the early game. I know a lot of this is going to sound negative, and I really don't want to give the impression that Octopath Traveler is a bad game. It's not. It's a solid experience that I'm looking forward to finishing. It's just not quite at the level I was hoping it was going to be. Of course, these are just early impressions of a 3-hour demo, and there's going to be a lot more to experience in the final release, but from what I've played today, it's what I would call a good RPG. It's not remarkable, it's not something I feel like I'll be replaying, years down the line, but definitely something that I enjoy enough to play all the way through when it comes out, and something I would recommend you look into if you have a Switch. The demo is available now on the eShop, and if you're a huge fan of old school JRPGs like I am, then there's no reason not to give it a shot. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on my thoughts for the game though when the full release drops on July 13th, but until then, thanks for watching and have a great day.